So if you're like me, then you're a fan of NASCAR. And if you're a fan of NASCAR, then you know about the chase. With that being said, your views might be a little mixed on the chase and its purpose, but whatever your views may be, there's no denying that it's very divisive among the fans and changed the course of NASCAR forever. So with that being said, I pose the question that's the title of this video. What if NASCAR never adopted the chase format? What would the changes be? What wouldn't they be? And what would they overall, just what would it be? Now, this is a prediction and a fact video, but some are based off facts with no other real consideration for other factors, so take it with a grain of salt. Without further ado, this is what I think NASCAR would have been like without the chase format being adopted. A good place to start is the points history of NASCAR. Would championship battles have been better or worse with the chase? Now, the 2004 battle was between 5 different drivers. Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, and eventual winner Kurt Busch. And while it was a close championship that came down to the wire, Martin and Busch weren't really in it throughout the year until the end. So in a full season standings, this actually would have been a different title chase going into Homestead with Junior, Johnson, and Gordon fighting it out, with this being the points going into the last race. And if it played out the same way, Jeff Gordon would have won his 5th championship instead of Busch's first, making this the final 2004 standings. 2005 would have been Stewart's second career championship no matter what. In both instances, he dominated the season with no real opposition going into Homestead, so that was a deserved championship. 2006's chase was like its season itself, underrated. Once again, we had 5 drivers in it to win the championship at Homestead, realistically having a chance at any time through the race to win it. With the drivers being Dale Earnhardt Jr., rookie Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, Matt Kenseth, and Jimmy Johnson winning it. He'd pull away and win his first of many championships, but not as much in a no-chase format. In this scenario, Matt Kenseth would be neck and neck with Johnson, and this lead would be swapped every lap at Homestead with it like that. 2007 would have been between Johnson and Gordon. Gordon dominated the season, but Johnson won 4 in a row in the chase, winning him the chase. With no chase, Gordon clinches his now 6th title after Texas, and it would have been his most dominant season consistently. It would have raised questions if he could surpass Earnhardt and Petty. Here's the final 2007 standings. 2008 was another big year. In the chase, Johnson, Edwards, and Biffle fought it out, but Edwards and Biffle had problems, giving Johnson an easy path. But had the chase not been implemented, the title would come down between Johnson and Edwards, with Edwards winning the final race at Homestead, ultimately winning him the championship, making it a very close championship. It would have been between 16 points, making this the final standings that year. 2009 would have been more of the same. Throughout the first 26 races, it was clear that Hendrick Motorsports had everyone beat, with Gordon being consistent, Johnson being himself, Martin having a resurgence, and the SHR teammates hitting on all 8 cylinders, with Johnson at the end winning. But under the old system, Stewart and Jeff Gordon would have been right there, but Johnson still would have beat them out, although much more close than the other standings. 2010 was the final year of the points since 75, with Hamlin being dominant early, Harvick being dangerously consistent, but for the first time in 10 years, Johnson looked beatable. But Harvick couldn't beat out Johnson just as Hamlin couldn't. But in the old system, it would have been Harvick beating out Johnson by almost 2 races worth of points. 2011 was another big year with new cars and a new aero package, new drivers with new teams, and new teams with new drivers. And the big change was the point system, with 10 guys in it with points and 2 guys with wild card wins. The season consisted of underdog wins, slump busting wins, great finishes, and fight. The fight for the title came down between a consistent Carl Edwards and a winning Tony Stewart, who won 5 of the last 10 to win in a tiebreaker. But Edwards would have pulled away under the old system, winning by a large, large margin over Kevin Harvick and then Tony Stewart. We can all agree in 2012 it was pretty boring, but the championship would have been a lot better than the racing, with Matt Kenseth, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson, and Greg Biffle all swapping the lead. But they would have opened the door at the last 10 to Brad Keselowski, who would have won either way. So these would have been the final standings that year. 2013 was pretty big with the new car, the Gen 6. It was a year that had thrilling finishes and was, although remembered by Bowyer's spin. That also led to an added man in the chase, so 13 instead of 12, and ultimately led to Johnson winning a 6th championship, which pretty much would have been the same thing under the old system. 2014 was the biggest departure from NASCAR's route it ever had, with qualifications for the chase going from points now to just winning and rounds. And it would have been dominated between Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr., who would have been winning and finishing top 5 or 10. But it wouldn't have mattered because Gordon finished 5th and Earnhardt finished 8th under this system, with Ryan Newman, who didn't win at all and it really wasn't that good, competing with Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin, making him go against Kevin Harvick in the final laps, who would ultimately win the championship, while Earnhardt, Gordon, and Keselowski were afterthoughts. It would have been Gordon versus Logano, with Gordon going on to win his 7th championship. Harvick, Logano, and Jr. all had great seasons that meant really nothing because they lost to a guy who missed a third of the season, while it would have been Harvick beating out Joey Logano, I should say, to win the championship. In actuality, he'll just be remembered for crashing the field at Talladega. 2016 started well with great racing and great finishes because of the aero package at Daytona and Phoenix. But it went back to the single file slop that we got with the COT. And the season would have been a battle between Harvick and Keselowski, but Keselowski was eliminated at Talladega, while drivers like Carl Edwards and Jimmy Johnson, who hovered between 8th and 12th in points all year, fought for the championship, as well as Joey Logano and Kyle Busch. And in the end, it was Johnson winning a 7th. There's no doubt that 2016 would have been a lot different. The real change here is actually the credibility of NASCAR. And that's not a knock against the chase winners, it's just the credibility of the sport. Because until 2004, the sport had seen unparalleled growth, and it seemed like nothing could stop it. It was even breathing down the NFL's neck in TV ratings and attendance. In the 2005 race, they had 300,000 people at Indianapolis, and 6.2% of the nation watched, while compared to this year, 30,000 watched at the race, and 5.3 million watched on TV. Half of it. NASCAR media would tell you it's a regression of periods of sports are normal, which is true, but this is just disturbing. But what could NASCAR have done? They could have not implemented the chase. They would have had great finishes, and they would have had great championship battles, but instead they went for more or less just trying to get the casual fan. And we all saw how that worked out. The old fans aren't coming back, and the current ones are tuning out, and the potential fans have no interest.